Well, hello there, Dippers, and welcome back to the Fantasy 15 podcast, the official fantasy football podcast of Sauce on the Side. Dippers, it is here. Regular season week 1 has finally arrived us, and we will run you through all of your fantasy knowledge for this week, DFS and week-long fantasy. As always, I'm your host, Drake, joined by the man, the producer, Leighton Pip Shaventone.
James Conner, lock button.
And joining us for the Fantasy 15, Lex, the meat stud himself, Glasgow.
I feel like Steve Sarkisian right now. I'm pretty buzzed, boys.
If you would have watched that Eagles-Falcons game, you would understand exactly what he's talking about. But guys, we cannot ramble any longer. We have to get to it. We have to break down your weekly meat studs. So Leighton C, without further ado, you know what to do. Fantasy 15, a Sauce on the Side production. Alright guys, in case you guys aren't familiar with this, what we're going to do, we call it the Fantasy 15 because initially we started it as a 15-minute show. This time, this go-around for this season, we have extended it to 30 minutes, kind of give us some more wiggle room, and we will also incorporate season-long fantasy into this show, give you some start and sits, things to look out for. We'll hit the waiver wire hot and heavy as the season goes on, but we got to hit the big money. We got to talk about ways for you guys to hit the big coin, for you guys to retire at the age of 27. The DFS slates are finally here. And we're going to start it off hot and heavy. First up, we're going to go to the big money quarterbacks. Lex Glasgow, who do you have for me?
Give me Cam Newton at 8,100 on FanDuel pricing. He's coming into the season. He's finally healthy. In the past couple of seasons, health has been the biggest issue with him. He's got all of his weapons at his disposal. That includes Greg Three-Leg Olsen, who is a touchdown monster when Cam is playing. I think the Cam is going to have a breakout week to start a breakout season for him again, like he did in 2015.
Leighton C, who do you have for us?
Like I agree with you completely. My guy is also Cam Newton. Looking at the top 4 guys, they're honestly the top 6, 7 guys. I'd rather Cam Newton than any of the other guys there. He saved him the past couple of seasons, but he could come out. He can't do with his arm, he can do with his legs. He's almost a guarantee for 20 points, and it's hard to miss him.
Yeah, and like you said, almost a guarantee for 20 points last year. He averaged 19.72, so he is there every single week. My guy, I'm going with Drew Brees. 6 of his 9 home games last year, he had 2 or more touchdowns. Games in the Superdome, Brees is money. There's no Mark Ingram for the first 4 weeks. I will repeat, no Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram last year kind of took over that offense after week 5 whenever they started becoming a run-heavy offense. So he, in his last 12 games, had 12 touchdowns. That's a touchdown a game. They're going to lose that out of Mark Ingram. That's going to go through the air with Drew Brees, especially playing the 32nd ranked passing defense from last year. So, guys, we talked about the big money option there. Who do we have for a cheap price on the DFS slates?
For cheap price, I'm going to go down to Andrew Luck. This will be the only time we get him for 7,300 in FanDuel all season long. Is he healthy? Is he not healthy? You're going to find out on Sunday. And if he is healthy, he's going to come out and he's going to play in a big way for your fantasy squad.
I'm going to get Andy Dalton. He's $6,800. He's playing the 29th ranked pass defense from last season. Last week against Indianapolis, put up 18.7 fantasy points. Coming out this season high and heavy. We're going to go to Andy Dalton.
I'm actually going to go with a guy who's the same price as his backup quarterback, and that's Joe Flacco. For some odd reason, he will be your cheapest starter this week, and he is the same price as his backup. You're getting him at a premium. A guy last year, Flacco, through his first 11 games, 1,800 yards, 9 touchdowns, 11 picks. His last 5, 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns, 200 picks. The guy was on fire at the end of the season, kind of gets overlooked by, I don't know what. I guess the fact that they did not make the playoffs, so Joe Flacco ends up immediately on the hot seat. Played well at the end of the season last year. I told you whenever he was going to break out for 20 points last year for his first game of the season to do it, and he did it. Joe Flacco jumps right back up there, and he will be on fire as a good, cheap quarterback option. So let's make our way to the bell cows. What guys do we have at the top of the list here that are big money options for week 1?
I'm going to go with Kareem Hunt. Last year against the Chargers, he had 372 total yards rushing. Like, that's close to, what?
180 yards a game.
180 yards a game. A little over that. That's at a little over 180 yards a game. He's averaging well over 20 fantasy points per game against the Chargers last season. I see him continuing on. He's got a rookie quarterback making his first start. Let's see what he can do. The best thing for rookie quarterbacks, running game. Lock in Kareem Hunt.
But me, I'm going with David Johnson. He did $700 last season. He had 11 total yards. What a year. Back in 2016, though, he had 12,034 rushing yards. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 rushing yards and 16 touchdowns. Onto the air, he had 879 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. That totals 2,118 yards and 20 touchdowns. Washington had a 38-second rush defense last season. Lock the load, David Johnson.
I absolutely love locking both those guys in, but I think I'm going to go with probably the most obvious pick, and it's going to be Alvin Kamara. The guy was a manimal last year against Tampa Bay, 84 receiving yards in both of his games against Tampa Bay, 5 yards per carry against Tampa Bay. He's going to see north of 15 carries. I know they signed Mike Gillislee, but he's not Mark Ingram, so if the game's going to get tight, it's end up going to be Kamara on the field, lock button, Alvin Kamara. He's going to be a stud this week. I absolutely love him. And also, I got to throw this in there. Look out for Alex Collins. I know he's one of those mid-range guys for the price. Buffalo's final 10 games, 7 of those games were 140 yards given up on the ground, and they were the only team to allow 20 touchdowns. Alex Collins, 80-yard guy every time he steps on the field as a starter. You got to lock that in. So, Lex Glasgow, give me something at the bottom of the barrel here. Something cheap at the running back position as a flyer.
You're going down to 5,000, and you're getting James Conner. No Le'Veon Bell this week. You got to lock him in. The Steelers want to run the ball. They've proven they want to run the ball. Lock in James Conner. He's going to win you a league.
Yep, absolutely. Honestly, once he gets down, pick gets McCaffrey at 7,300 and lower, go down to James Conner. I'm not playing anybody from 7,300 to 5,100 or down to James.
And if you guys are not confident in the James Conner pick, I look at 2 guys here. D'Angelo Williams in Pittsburgh, 8 games of 20-plus carries, 5 games of 100-plus yards, 6 games of 2-plus touchdowns. He only played 24 games in a Steelers jersey. So it's not just Le'Veon Bell. It's everybody that runs the ball for the Steelers. They have phenomenal numbers. And even LeGarrette Blount had one of his best 10 career games in a Steelers jersey, and he was only there for 11 of his 116 career games. You got a lock button, James Conner in. I would be confident putting him in every single lineup. So Lex, let's get to the wide receivers. This is where you make the big money. You got to have guys splash off for 20 points. Where are we leaning?
We're actually going at the very top with Antonio Brown. I don't need to tell you much more than he's Antonio Brown, and Le'Veon Bell is not playing for the Steelers this weekend. Big Ben locks his eyes on him as soon as he walks in the room.
I went with AJ Green. We all know it had an awful year last year. I'm not going to tell you the stats. This year opens up against Indianapolis, 29th best pass defense last season. 29th worst, I should say. And also, best sack of the week with him and Andy Dalton. That totals only $15,200. Make sure you get that in.
I'm actually going to go with a guy who's kind of right in the middle of the mix. He's at 7,300, and I'm going with Larry Fitzgerald. You look at the Washington pass defense, it's most susceptible right in the middle of the field away from Josh Norman. So Larry Fitzgerald's going to line up a lot in the slot. Last year, Adam Thielen coming out of the slot, 8 catches, 166 yards, and he had one of his 4 touchdowns from last year against Washington in just one game. You look at Fitzgerald, he actually played against Washington last year. This was the stat that's going to pull a lot of people off of Larry Fitzgerald. 10 targets, 5 catches, 60 yards. That's a pretty decent game, but you had Blaine Gabbert there. He had a third of Blaine Gabbert's completed passes, and he had a third of the yards that Blaine threw in that game. Blaine Gabbert was awful. He steps in with Sam Bradford, who's extremely competent. And if you look at Sam Bradford, the last 4 times that he started the season, his last 4 games, week 1 of the regular season, he has averaged 316 yards, 2 touchdowns, and less than 1 pick per game. So this guy, it doesn't matter what team he's on. He was on 3 separate teams in those last 4 games. He has been locked in when he's healthy. Week 1, he will be healthy. So we hit the top of the list. Let's go ahead and move to some of the lower level wide receivers for the slate of games on Sunday.
Look no lower than at 4,500 for Keelan Cole. He could be the top option in the Jaguars' the pass offense, going against a terrible pass defense in the Giants from last season. I could see Keelan Cole being a fringe 80-yard guy and maybe a score.
Here's some more fun facts on Keelan Cole. He's $4,500 a week in FanDuel. Through week 14 and 16 last season, he had 99 yards, 108 yards, 186 yards. He's $4,500 this week. He was banged up last few weeks, but he still saw 8 targets a game. He's $4,500 this week. The New York Football Giants had 32nd ranked pass defense last season. They played the Jaguars on Sunday. He's $4,500.
He is an absolute steal. I do love Keelan Cole, and in fact, he will be in the meat stud lineup for you guys this week. And Lex loves to throw this stat out there. This guy did not start playing football until he got into college, so his ceiling is super high. You get him in an NFL offense for a full off season, he's going to be deadly. My wide receiver at the bottom of the barrel, though, I got to go with somebody other than Keelan Cole since these guys are so high on him. I'm going to give you John Ross. He's 5,100. Only play that he touched the ball last season, he fumbled, and then he ended up missing the season with an injury. So he was out all last season. I expect him to rebound very, very well. The guy runs a 4.22 40, fastest 40 time in NFL history, and he was drafted as a big play guy. 4 catches this preseason, 29 yards per catch, including a game where he had 2 catches, 66 yards, and a touchdown. All he needs is 1 catch against the Colts. They have a ton of holes on the defense. He'll find it, wiggle through, and get you that score that you need.
And we should mention that John Ross did recover that fumble. So we know if he messes up, he still works hard.
Yes, and John Ross, a lot of people say that he can't really run routes. They've never watched the guy run routes. He's a great route runner, he's fast, and he makes great catches. You can even look back at the Washington tape because that's all you have to lean on at this point. I absolutely love John Ross being so cheap. But don't expect more than 4 catches. If he gets one of those 4 catches, he'll go to the house. So Lex, tight end, it's kind of a rough position this week. Kind of looking all over the place, so give us a big money option at the tight end position.
I'm going to give you old reliable Greg Olsen. He has 3 legs. He's out there running down the field, dragging that third one right into the end zone for your fantasy squad.
I'm going straight up. I'm going to go Gronkowski, $700. Week 1, he's fully healthy, at 16.7 yards per catch.
Rob Gronkowski, Greg 3-leg, they've always been there. I'm going with Delaney Walker, 6,100. Only 3 teams last season gave up 1,000 yards to a tight end in 2017. Only 3 teams last year gave up 10-plus touchdowns to tight ends. The Dolphins were the only team in the NFL to appear on both of those lists. Walker had a season-high 7 catches in the opener. His second most receiving yards of the season was last year in the opener. Guys go with what they know. In the first week of the regular season, expect Marcus Mariota to be given a heavy dose of Delaney Walker in week 1. So guys, tight ends at the bottom of the barrel. This is where your team is either gold or you're paying up a little extra. Lex, who do you have for me?
I'm going to go David Njoku at 5,300. We know Tyrod Taylor loves to check it down, and he loves to tight end. Look for David Njoku to score you a big touchdown on Sunday.
I'm going with Jordan Reed, 5,800. He both hit the Broncos, but it's week 1 he's healthy, and he's healthy to wide receiver 2, and Alex Smith left the tight end.
I actually love both those pickups. I think that David Njoku might lead all tight ends in catches this week. I wouldn't be surprised. And you always have Jordan Reed, who might be the best tight end in the NFL, but he's just never healthy. At the tight end position for cheap pick, I'm actually going to go with Nick Vannett. He's the Seattle tight end. You've probably never heard of him. He's 4,300. Jimmy Graham is gone. Ed Dixon's gone. And Vannett, by default, ends up getting all the tight end work for Seattle this season. Denver last year gave up a huge number for yards per catch to tight ends at 13. And to tight ends, they gave up 1,000 yards. So Denver, against the tight end, even though the defense has been great over the past few seasons, they've been susceptible to the tight end. Russell Wilson's a smart player. We've seen him just throw for 100 yards to just random guys, and I think Nick Vannett could possibly be the next guy on that list. So defense, I think we're all going to be sitting in the same boat on this one. Where are we going?
We're going with the Ravens this week. Playing Nathan Peterman. If you don't know who Nathan Peterman is, go look up highlights from his season last year. All he did was throw picks. What do the Ravens do? Create turnovers.
Yes, I agree. Nathan Peterman, 10% of his passes last season were interceptions. And you look at the Ravens, who are coming off of 22 picks in the NFL last season, leading the whole entire NFL, and you think, immediately whenever you think picks, you go right to the Jaguars. The Ravens actually led the NFL in interceptions last year, and I think it's going to be no different after week one. Like Lex said, Peterman is a pick machine. That is what he's most notable for, and I think that's what he's going to continue to do this week. So guys, we're going to go to some big money flops, some guys that we should fade, that we should not play, that are a huge bounty. So Lex, who do you have for me this week?
I'm going to go quarterback this week. I'm going to go with Russell Wilson. You're not going to be watching a football game when Russell Wilson has the ball on Sunday. You're going to be watching a track meet. He's going to be running all over that field trying to get away from Bradley Chubb and Von Miller. All day, stay away from Russell Wilson.
I'm going back to OBJ. OBJ claims he's grown up, not going to get fired with Jalen Ramsey. But Jalen Ramsey's going to come out, and Jalen Ramsey talks shit, and he talks pretty good shit. And not only does he talk shit, he also cut people pretty damn good too. Or he's going to go OBJ head early. I think OBJ's going to have an awful game on Sunday.
I'm going to back you up on that pick, and I'm actually going to stay with the Giants, and I'm going to go with Saquon Barkley. We really do not know what Saquon Barkley is. We've seen him get shut down in Big Ten action. So if he can't beat that, he's not going to beat the Jaguars' defense. Another guy that I'm going to go with, and I'm going to go back to wide receiver, and that's Mike Evans. You know, right now he's listed as the 6th highest wide receiver on this list, and he's going to have Ryan Fitzpatrick throwing him the ball on Sunday. So you are getting Mike Evans with a Jameis Winston price, but you have the result of Ryan Fitzpatrick. Guys, so we talked about the big money flops. Let's just rattle them off. Meat stud alert. Guys, in case you don't know what the meat stud is, it is a guy who's going to have a dominant performance this week. Position players, we're looking for 20 points. We're looking for quarterbacks that are going to go over 30. So real quick, let's rattle off some for the dippers out there.
David Johnson, he is a meat stud. He's going to come out. You know what you're going to get from him if you go back and look what he did 2 seasons ago. Last season, he's all hurt off a fluke injury. He's going to come out. He's a guaranteed 20 points every single week he's on the field. He will. I will go out there and say this. He's going to have 2,000 yards from scrimmage this season.
Melvin Gordon, absolute workhorse, Bill Cowell back. Playing Kansas City Chiefs, who had an awful defense. Getting pillars this past offseason. Got a huge game on Sunday.
Meat studs at the quarterback position. Drew Brees, Cam Newton, Kirk Cousins. At the running back position, Alvin Kamara, David Johnson, Kareem Hunt. Wide receivers, we're going Antonio Brown, Michael Thomas. At the tight end position, you got to go Gronk, you got to go Delaney Walker, and I'm even going to throw you in a supplemental wide receiver who's at the bottom of the barrel at $6,000. That's Kenny Stills. Devontae Parker's out. Ryan Tannehill has a bag of misfit toys. You got Danny Amendola. He's never played a game with him. You have Mike Gesicki. Never played a game with him. Then it's Kenny Stills. Kenny Stills, go with what you know. Week 1, he is going to have a monster game. I'm putting him in the 20-plus point category. This man will be a meat stud. And obviously at the defense position, the meat stud of the week is going to be the Baltimore Ravens. You won't find another lock like this all year. So guys, it's time. Lex Glasgow.
Lex Glasgow.
Lex Glasgow.
Lex Glasgow.
Lex Glasgow's meat stud stack of the week.
All right, Dippers, listen up. There's a meat stud game of the week that you want to target. That is the Chiefs versus the Chargers, okay? Here's what we're going to do for this stack. You're going to throw in Phillip Rivers in your lineup, and then you're going to target Keenan Allen, but you're also going to throw in Kareem Hunt from the Chiefs. Stack them up, rack them up, you'll win.
I absolutely love that meat stud stack. A lot of people, they look at Keenan Allen and all they think about is injuries. Whenever I think Keenan Allen for this football season, I think about the last 7 games of last year. The man was on fire. In the last 7 games, the Chargers only lost 1. Phillip Rivers is smart enough to figure out what he has to do to win, and that's get Keenan Allen the damn ball. 188 targets. If he kept up the season that he had the last 7 weeks for a full 16-game slate, he had 188 targets, 130 catches, and 1,800 yards. The man is money. He's playing against a completely deteriorated Chiefs defense. I absolutely love that meat stud stack of the week. So guys, it is time. We do all this talk, we hype it all up, and it is time to get to the meat stud stack lineup for week 1 of the NFL regular season. We're starting it off hot. I love Drew Brees in the Superdome, especially playing the worst defense in the league against the pass from last season. Lock him in, Drew Brees at quarterback. Then we're going David Johnson at the running back position, playing the 32nd ranked rushing defense from last year. I expect him to bounce back with a huge game at week 1. Then, like Leighton and Lex said, James Conner, lock button, put him in at running back 2. Then we're going wide receiver. Michael Thomas. I said how Mark Ingram was a touchdown monster last year. I think in the red zone, they're not just going to beat Mike Gillislee down the throats of the defense. They're going to give Michael Thomas some red zone love. Then I'm going Keenan Allen. Like Lex had said earlier, this is a guy you lock into your lineup this week and you run with him because he is going to have a huge performance. Then at the wide receiver position, I'm going Keelan Cole, 4,500, third wide receiver. He's going to be money. He could possibly break off for a 150-yard game. Then we're going tight end position, Delaney Walker. Like I said, the Dolphins were the only team in the league to give up 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns to the tight ends. Then at the flex, the man that I have been on this whole entire preseason, the man that I was chirping up earlier, Kenny Stills, $6,000. He's coming at a premium. This is the last week that you're going to be able to get Kenny Stills at this price. Then Baltimore defense, you got to lock them in. You got to love them. This team is going to be firing on all cylinders, especially since they get to draw Nathan Peterman.
That's a pretty sweet lineup, but not only Peterman in Baltimore.
That's actually a huge plus.
Keep in mind, Peterman had his 5 picks at home.
Oh, okay, so we're expecting 10 picks
I'm
from Nathan
expecting
Peterman.
at least 10 picks from Nathan Peterman on Sunday.
If you guys don't know, the pick rule, it doubles on the road from what it is at home.
It's a fact.
How many Jay Cutler double plays is he going to have where he throws a pick and gets the tackle?
Probably, you know what? Probably more Jay Cutler because he cares more than Jay Cutler did.
He works harder.
He works hard.
Yes, he does. So we're going to go ahead and give you guys some fantasy starts and sits for this week. Kind of guys that you may have in your season-long league that you may be on the fringe of starting or sitting some of those borderline starters. So guys, Leighton, you go ahead and start us off. Who do you like for a good start?
Starting off at the top at quarterback, I like Philip Rivers this week. Last season he had 280 passing yards a game. Kansas City had the third ranked passing offense last year and just lost Marcus Peters. I think Philip Rivers should have a huge game with an entire sense to prepare for this team and seeing them twice a year for the entire career.
I'm actually going to piggyback off of the quarterback position. We know Tyrod Taylor will start week 1. That's all we know about Tyrod Taylor. If you're kind of in a nook and a cranny, you didn't really like what you drafted, I think that as far as a week 1 starter, Tyrod Taylor is going to have to keep pace with the Steelers, and I think he's going to be able to do that. I think he's going to be able to keep the game close, and in order to do that, he's going to have to score points because we know that Steelers offense can fly off in a hurry. And if you're thinking about last year's Steelers offense and how they had Todd Haley and how he might have been the mastermind behind it, boom, Todd Haley is the man for Tyrod Taylor. He has all these weapons. We're going to see if he's going to be able to use them. So Lex, who do you have for your week 1 start?
You actually took mine. Because I've been looking at Tyrod all week thinking, you know what? He's going to have to come out. Game flow is going to favor him having to throw the ball all game long. I think he'll come out, and he can be a top 10 finish this week.
Leighton, who else do you have for a start for week 1?
This one's really a ballsy pick, but I like Josh Gordon. You're trying to decide between Josh Gordon and a guy who has a listed ceiling and that's Josh Gordon. Go with Josh Gordon. Todd Haley came out today and said that NFL football is all about winning games. And you got to have the best guys out there to win. And Josh Gordon's one of the best guys. Todd Haley wants to play Josh Gordon. Hugh Jackson's going to be pushed by Todd Haley to play Josh Gordon. And I believe Josh Gordon will be serviceable this week.
I'm going to actually go to the wide receiver position, and I'm going to go with Chris Hogan. I'm going to stick on Leighton's pick there, and I'm just going to go right to the wide receiver. Chris Hogan, playing Houston. Last year against Houston, he actually had a very good game, and I think it was mainly because Houston, they focused on Gronk so hard into the red zone. So last year, he had 6 targets, 4 catches, 68 yards. That's not phenomenal, but it's serviceable, in your flex spot. 2 of his 4 catches were actually touchdowns, so I think that was by design for the Texans. As soon as the Patriots got into the red zone, they said anybody but Gronk, and it's going to be Chris Hogan if it's not Robert Gronkowski. Lex, who is another start that you have for this week?
I'm going to go back And wind the clock back a couple years. Adrian Peterson. He just got the nod, and he's going to start this week. He's playing against the Cardinals. You know what this is, boys?
Revenge game. I love revenge games.
I love revenge games too, and so does Adrian Peterson. Start him this week. He's a good flex option, if not a low-end RB2.
Okay, so guys, we kind of talked about it a little bit with James Conner, and we say how we love him for the price on FanDuel. Do you guys feel confident rolling James Conner out there each week until Le'Veon Bell's back?
In my opinion, until Le'Veon Bell comes back, James Conner's floor is a low RB2. I think the high RB2, but his floor is low RB2 still. So if I'm a Bell owner, if not a Bell owner, I'm playing James Conner.
I'm definitely going James Conner. The Steelers definitely want to run the ball. I said that earlier. They love running it. That's a big part of their game flow, setting up the pass. Lock in James Conner till Lev comes back.
All right, guys, so give us some fringe starters that guys might be putting in their season-long leagues that we think that they should just go ahead and put them on the bench.
I'm actually going to go back to what I said earlier, who we're going to fade at the top. Don't start Russell Wilson this week. It's not going to be a football game for him. It's going to be a track meet out there in Denver. He's not going to be able to have time to throw the ball. He's not going to be able to sit in the pocket and dice up the defense. He's going to run. He's going to have to make bad choices. He might throw 3 picks this week. Put him on the bench.
I'm going to give you multiple guys here, and they're just going to be team-based. I say that in week 1, you stay clear of the Cleveland Browns, you stay clear of the Indianapolis Colts, and you stay clear of the Seattle Seahawks. The whole running back systems, any guy that's involved with those 3 teams that will be toting the rock this week, I don't trust any of them. All of them have come in with so many question marks. Unless somebody is out, unless one of the guys in the timeshare are out, I'm not going to throw a guy out there in my season-long league to get 3 carries because the other hot hand catches on fire. Just don't do it. Stay away from it if possible. Now, if you are forced to play one of these guys, by all means, you have to. But if you have an option out there, stay away from any of the running backs from those 3 teams.
I had to piggyback off your thing with the teams, and the Tennessee Titans minus Delaney Walker. No one knows what's going to happen yet. They have 2 running backs. They have a left wide receivers. They don't know who the best one is. The only person who knows there is Delaney Walker. If you're questioning any Titans, not in Delaney, don't start him.
So, guys, we'll go ahead and get to some fan questions here. Actually, this week we had a few, so we're going to go ahead and start it off with one of the most loyal dippers out there. Actually reached out to us and asked our opinion on Dez Bryant for season-long league. Guys, what do we think?
I'm not touching Dez Bryant until I know he has a team.
Yeah, we know he turned down 5 years from the Browns. Okay, he thinks he's better than that when he obviously is not. So I say that week 3 or 4, the big account might start running low because Dez probably the next month his money, and he'll have to find a team, and he'll probably sign somewhere.
Yeah, I agree. I think that you cannot touch him until he is actually on a team. I don't know why you'd roster him right now. I think that you're basically just wasting a roster spot. So we actually got another one. This is actually a really good question. I feel like a lot of people are probably going to end up in this predicament. So we had a question from Tim. He reached out to us on Twitter. He said, Week 1, 10-team PPR league. At the flex position, should I start Josh Gordon or James Conner? Leighton, these are 2 guys that you are actually big on this week, so I'm going to go ahead and let you take the bait first.
Well, I know you just said that your question is start Josh Gordon. We're not starting Josh Gordon or James Conner this week, or any week for that man, until we know Josh Gordon had to find ball in the offense. It's James Conner. Ride or die. Lock button.
I agree with Leighton. You hit that lock button, James Conner. I want the guy that's guaranteed to touch the ball maybe 15 times this week.
Yeah, I agree with you. I read off all the stats from the guys from the Steelers that were not named Le'Veon Bell that were running the ball, and all those guys had success. You have to trust James Conner. I know both these guys, you got to see it to believe it. We've seen more out of Josh Gordon in the past, but right now I am lock button James Conner, RB2 flex all day. So we also had another question from Tyler. He actually came out and asked, Royce Freeman this week, or should he go with Jamison Crowder in the flex spot? Guys, what are we leaning towards here?
I'm going to Royce Freeman. I'm with the guaranteed guy that's going to run the ball on Sunday versus the guy that has a new quarterback, and you don't know what kind of relationship those two have on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you right there on Woods Freeman. You want the guy who knows going to have the role. Last year's Seattle defense wasn't that great, and the rest defense was definitely not that good. And with also those players, definitely going to start Woods Freeman.
See, I'm actually going to go against the grain here. I do like Royce Freeman, but I'm almost in love with this relationship that Alex Smith is going to build with Jamison Crowder. And I almost trust it immediately week one. And I don't want to be missing out on those touches from him because Jamison Crowder does line up in the slot primarily, and you look at what that defense does well, and they have Patrick Peterson outside shutting down a whole side of the field. So I think that it's going to be Jamison Crowder early and often, almost by default, just because one side of the field is going to be completely locked down. Jamison Crowder is going to be running free in the middle. Kind of like how I said I really like Larry Fitzgerald this week. Same reason I really like Jamison Crowder in the week one. So guys, anything else before we wrap this show up?
As always, we'll be off SoundCloud in a matter of 6 days from today. Lockbutton and James Conner. Good luck on Sunday.
Guys, make the big money this week. Listen to our advice. Be on FanDuel. Be on DraftKings. Get your money. Win your season-long leagues. Make fun of everybody at work because you kicked their ass. And Dippers, for Drake, for Leighton, and the Meat Stud Lex, as always, stay saucy.